Life is tough, huh?
Totally.
You know. Okay, before we get started, and I'll shut the door here. This isn't related to the interview, but I believe the majority of you were at SC2. Anyone miss SC2? Right. So most of you. But for those of you that were there, I would love positive feedback as one of the facilitators, but also it's always an awesome event to talk about. What stood out, big themes, things that you really liked. Essentially just a quick 30-second debrief. So any thoughts? Go ahead, Jocelyn.
Circle of influence was a really big thing.
Yeah.
It was talked about by every single speaker.
Does that make me sound smarter then?
Yeah.
Then I like that. Yeah, good. Jake.
I loved Brian Earlman's speech. It was great.
Right.
It was really enthusiastic. And
Yeah, it's a great example of also what the company can do for you if you progress with it. So I knew the old Brian, the one he made fun of. I knew that Brian too. Oh yeah. He was very accurate in describing himself. So
I'd say having a bunch of speakers come in. I was gonna say Herman as well.
Okay.
But mainly for the fact that he just talked about different people and how they got into Vector and then how like where they are now. It's really cool to see like the progression of like where they used to be and now.
Yeah,
Where they are
and just
now.
the people's stories are really compelling sometimes. Okay. Yes, Ms.
I
Nicole.
was also going to say people's stories, but I thought their stories were interesting because of like the work that they had to put in to get there, and like it wasn't always easy. And then like there's always going to be a point where you have to overcome something, and they didn't just like quit; they just kept pushing.
Right. They didn't just like show up and be a district manager or a big seller. Right. Good. Especially when you're newer and you just have a fast start, you go through all those challenges. Good point. Good.
I thought it was very well organized, and also Aaron Ludin. Just it's cool because all the speeches before were all about like Cutco and selling and everything else like that, but he kind of turned it into a motivation and just being confident and not.
He's always a crowd favorite.
Yeah,
he's really good.
I thought it was great.
Good.
I mean, I wasn't there, but all his enthusiasm for when like when he came back, like how cool these knives were. Like the conference was really cool because he was like amped.
Yeah.
He was like, these are the best product in the world. Like he was just.
Would you say it, to Ryan's point, would you say it also backs the point that you really just have to go to understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you don't go, it's not a bad thing. There are plenty of people who have been very successful with their company who have missed SC2. I just want to say it's not preferred, but there are plenty of three of you that didn't make it. That doesn't get held against you in any way, shape, or form. But I encourage you to always make events because the events are really what make our full experience, okay? So before we start, I want to say good luck. I want to be very upfront and saying, regardless of how this goes, you all can still sell Cutco. This doesn't determine if you can submit orders or not past this. If you get into TLA, TLA is a completely different aspect of our company, and you can still earn income. You can still participate. You can even still be an assistant manager in some offices. But this is talk about opportunities on how to move into our TLA Leadership Academy. And I want to say congrats on being here. Even if you sell a lot, you don't always get asked to come to an interview. So part of why you're here is your personal sales, or about to be your personal sales. Another reason you're here is either connection I've had. I think of our moments and the Boca team. I've gotten a lot of time with the Boca team in previous times. Coming to visit the office in Boca, gosh, a couple weeks ago for that fun meeting.
I'm sorry.
SLDM, Ryan's crazy stories. I mean, regardless, or some people who are brand new, they just started. Congrats again on your fast start. Regardless, I want to say congratulations because you're here partly because of your sales and also because your managers, specifically Andrew and Luke, feel like you have what it takes to be part of our Leadership Academy, and vice versa. We feel like, and they feel like you would benefit, but we would benefit as well as having people like you on our team. This is Jocelyn's point, circle of influence. We also practice that too. So we're very particular about who we want to bring into our Leadership Academy. And I want to clarify the interview today. This group interview allows me to save a lot of time, and that way you get a really engaged 100% Jeff when I meet with you one-on-one, instead of repeating this over and over and over again. Okay, and you'll notice this is how we also run the interview to get the job for large groups of people. Okay, this is interactive. Okay, I do take questions throughout the entire thing. I ask that you just raise your hand. Feel free to take as much notes as possible. I'm not really evaluating your people skills here because I kind of know where it's at. It's more 101 that will be evaluation, and you have to be over 8,000 to get 101. If you don't get a 101 with me now, you can certainly qualify for one later. And people who aren't accepted into Leadership Academy can get what we call late acceptance, where it's Labor Day to do it again and get their sales up or get reaccepted into Leadership Academy. So far, so good? Yes? Can I get a, what do you call this?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, can I get A-okay, double? Okay, beautiful. So the objectives of this tour, I started yesterday, and tour is my favorite part of the job. This is TLA Tour. It's like Maroon 5 on tour. It's like you're filling your favorite artist on tour. And normally I go to all the different offices, but this year and last year I decided to have people come here. And it's my chance to build the future of the division. It's my chance to see the talent. This whole summer's been about sell a lot, get to Puerto Vallarta. And those are the two big themes, right? Sell a lot, get to Puerto Vallarta, get to the next event. But now I get to slow it down. And the people who have performed, who have been at events, and whether it's the first time I met, I think Hannah at SLDM, I do remember because we talked about being at UF and your sorority. I remember that. So regardless of maybe Jake, I heard because your dad was a district manager, and I heard, well, one of my reps' dads was the Orlando manager. Like whether it's that all the way to I know you pretty well, all the way to you text me often. This is my chance to connect and really get a chance to see, can we extend our relationship and our working relationship beyond just selling Cutco. It's also a chance for me to slow down and meet the talent, and also to say thank you for working really hard. This is our chance to build the wonderful FC. We were number 4 in competition for the push, but one thing you should know is that the Florida Caribbean division is currently one of the fastest growing divisions. We have a chance of having the number 1 branch class. We will have the number 1 and number 2 branch office in all of Vector Marketing. We will have the number 1 full first-year new district manager in San Juan, Puerto Rico, in the entire Eastern region, top 3 in the company. And it's only getting better, and we're really excited. And so think of this, if you're an athlete, this is me going around to the different high schools and asking everyone to come play college football for us. For you musicians, this is me going out to the different bars and clubs and jazz clubs and trying to put together my team, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. I also want to say very proudly that our team necessarily isn't for everyone, but if you're part of this team, you can always expect from being a rep all the way to if you become a division manager one day. Everyone in FC, we expect them to be really professional and exude professionalism. And there's something to be said about that. I'm also very proud to say that part of what we do as a division is we're very big on explosive team building. How many of you are here either because a friend recommended you or you have recommended friends to the job? Most of you, right? That's the essence of how we build our teams, through the right people. You know, the term birds of a feather flock together. And high standards of sales performance. That was the whole push week. And when it's time to sell a lot and step it up for push weeks, and there are about 9 push weeks a year, our Florida Caribbean division always takes every push seriously. And then last but not least, of course, is my favorite, anchor number 4, the anchor of the division, in which our culture is such that we really want to pursue growth. And you're not too young to start working on yourself. You're not too young to be the best version of you. You're not too young to treat people with respect. You're not too young to get business skills. And that's what we believe here. And that's what I love about our FC team. I just had breakfast with one of our branch managers, and I knew John Heitzman, who runs Miami Lakes, when he was 18 years old, and only 1 year and 2 years later, it's a completely different John. He speaks differently. He's way more professional. And those are the things that you can expect ultimately from the experience we want you to have. And what's the experience we want you to have? Everyone knows this. M3PG, right? And you've heard this so many meetings. In fact, it's not an FC meeting unless you get this slide. What's the other slide you always see at every FC meeting? Circle of influence, right? Those are the 2 trademark slides you'll see, because M3PG is really the most important thing for us. If you're not getting a really powerful professional and personal experience here, either we need to change experience or we need to find you a different job. That's what we really believe. And of course, the 3rd slide I would say that makes its way is the light bulb. And we want you guys to, right, exactly, to get those light bulbs, because whether it's how to sell more Cutco, whether it's the type of business you can run with our company, whether it's the resume you can build, whether it's the community of people you can be around, those are the 3 most important things. Your experience, right? Circles of influence, and creating light bulb moments for you. This is a picture from my flight to Puerto Rico of just, we really expect our division to carry themselves in a different way. And coming to the event, it's really fun for me to watch you guys sit in the front row. You guys were the front and center team. No pressure. Everything you do, people would watch. If you guys didn't take notes, it gives permission for everyone to slack. If you guys aren't clapping and enthusiastic, it gives the whole 700-person conference a reason to not be engaged. And I just want to say thank you for being such a great division. I'm biased. And I said, well, that's my team, right? That's how I feel every single time. So thank you for what we consider to be a standard. And here, this is about the future. This is not about selling just for August, although I want you to sell for August. This isn't about just the summer, although I want you to finish the summer strong. This is where you could be 1 year from now, and specifically about Leadership Academy. Now, Let me ask you, how would you describe a leadership academy? You've got parents are asking you, so Hannah, you're dressing up. Oh, you look lovely. Honey, where are you headed? Oh, I'm going back to Mr. Gamboa's office for an interview. For what? For a leadership academy. The heck is that? What do you say? What would you say? Just curious. Grant.
When I always share it with my customers, the
Great.
people I'm showing to, and I would just say like this is the end goal for me for this summer, and I kind of just describe it by saying during the school year, Cutco Vector will do a 8-hour teaching once a month on a Saturday, and they'll teach us anything from a broad spectrum of Roth IRAs, negotiating leases, hiring receptionists, anything to build my own business. And I also just say like that this is something that is not solely tailored to Cutco, but it's tailored to whatever I would choose to do in life.
That was really good. That's really good. I'd buy from you. Nicole.
I just think it's kind of, I think it's a cool experience because it's kind of like a transition. You don't get that experience. A lot of times you just get thrown into the real world, and this is like the opportunity to develop the skills to become successful instead of just like being thrown out to the wolves.
Right. Or just textbook knowledge, which, by the way, textbook knowledge is important. I don't want to devalue that. Just these are the intangible skills or hard skills that sometimes we don't learn, right? As a pre-med major, I learned how to balance money here, not in college. So, and maybe that's my fault for not taking those classes, but I knew a lot about science, just not much about money until Cutco. So, yes.
Gonna help me not be Generation Y and become a better adult.
I like it. I would buy from all of you. That's great. Leadership Academy, and I'm going to have you write this down so that you can, not only for yourself, not only for your resumes one day, but so you can share this accurately with customers and really your folks. I think that sometimes it's important to share the right information. Leadership Academy is Vector Marketing's corporate training and leadership program. I'll say it again. Leadership Academy, the TLA, is Vector Marketing, that's our company, Vector Marketing's corporate management and leadership program. One more time. TLA is Cutco or Vector Marketing's management and leadership program. Management and leadership program. Training program, rather. Okay. And what I want to say is that TLA and leadership and management training program is not unique to Cutco. Like, it is false for you to say, Mom and Dad, no one else has this program. No one else has a corporate training and leadership program but Cutco. That's not true. Most of your parents, if they work for a company, there's probably a corporate management and training leadership program. But this is our version catered to the group of people that we work with across the US, which are the 18 to 25-year-olds. And that's a different program because we know that we're not getting most of you for life. We know we're not getting most of you for career. So what we're doing is setting you off for that so that later on, in a funny way, you blame us for where you're going. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. On the plane, I think I shared this in the last meeting. Someone asked me, "So what do you do?" And I got sick of saying Cutco. And I said, I get paid, or what I do is I help students' resumes not stink. Huh? Well, I work with Cutco, and it just seems like a cooler way to describe it. So that's what Leadership Academy is. So regardless if you're here for a career or not, this is our way of giving you management and leadership skills through our corporate training program. And that's what I want you to be thinking about as you earn your spot for Leadership Academy. It's a program we have set up so that we're able to do things like John Vroman, my good friend and very, very popular public speaker on the College Student Network, talks about as he interviews Mr. Jeff Hoffman of Priceline.com. And keys to success, Mr. Hoffman says two things, and many of you have shopped on Priceline.com. I know I have. Find a company that solves problems and find a company that partners up with the right people. So that's why we have Leadership Academy. What's the real problem? The real problem is that most people, I think Nicole said this, go out into the real world, and what don't they have? They don't have a lot of skills that you need but aren't necessarily taught through college. Give me 2 or 3 skills that most of you always need but don't always get taught necessarily, depending on your major.
Time management.
Anything with management of time.
Writing a check.
Yeah, ready? Anything finance related.
Yeah.
Am I right? Like, my parents never taught me how to write a check. That's not a bad thing. It was just never in the curriculum. My parents would ask me how organic chemistry went or how that test for pre-med went, but it wasn't really in the culture. Give me a third one.
I would say like passion and focus towards what you're doing.
Yeah, like aligning visually, solidifying goals for the future. Sometimes fitness and health. Those are things always taught, and so forth and so forth. So that's why we have this famous slide, the circles of influence. And that's what Leadership Academy does. We force you to be around certain types of people in Leadership Academy. Positive people, growth-oriented people, professional students. Many of you are in different organizations, and Luke in the back is in fraternity, sorority. There's a reason you pick that group, whether it be social related, religious related, financial related, because you want to associate with people who act, think, and speak the same way. It goes the same thing with a synagogue, with the church, with the neighborhood, with the people you associate with, same thing. And that's what Leadership Academy is. And I hope that that's, again, one of the biggest light bulbs for you. We impact America. This is Jocelyn's point. We have a very important responsibility to deal with this generation. The generation that on the negative end gets seen as what? Lazy and entitled. Those are the two big ones I hear. But that's not fair, because not everyone is lazy and entitled. Right? I can promise you there's a list of you here right now that you can name 2 or 3 friends who are doing the opposite of working right now. In fact, right now you can tell me where they are, what they're doing, and what beach.
Sleeping.
Or when they're getting up.
6
Yeah.
o'clock.
And I don't think that's Generation Y, because when I was 18, 19, 20, I had a list of friends too, because it's very natural. But we don't think as a company that everyone is like that. So we try to recruit the ones that aren't like that. That's what we're trying to do. That's what makes our company good. When we can recruit not quite the Generation Y, and we turn them or work with the Generation Y not, if you will. That's the cool way to say it. And so we want to cultivate that in Leadership Academy. Leadership Academy is also important because my favorite USA Today article talks about some of the tragedies of being a college student nowadays. And number one is that most people, not all, maybe not some of you, but a lot of people are now working in an industry that's not directly related to the major they signed up for, and it's not by choice. It's because it's just harder to find a job, because people won't give you a job most of the times because you don't have enough what?
Experience.
But no one will give you a job in the first place to get what?
Experience.
Catch 22. Okay. And this is an article from a few years ago, I think 5 years ago, and it's even worse now. It's harder now. Thinking about college debt. Some of you have the opportunities to go to college for free. Some of you have parents that also will fund college for free. So if that's your situation, we want you to be a statistic where parents don't have to put that money and they can put it to something more productive. Like, how about your first car instead? Or how about investing in your future? How about a Roth IRA? How about retirement account instead of having to pay for school? For some of you, this is the reality of how college is. I know my sister went to George Washington University, $76,000 a year. Thank the good gracious Lord that she can kick a soccer ball really well. Like, she's really good. So that 76 turned to like 6. Well, that's soccer. That's 76. That's a house after 4 years. Nice house, actually. And of course, the statistic of finding a solidified job after college. So here's what we want you to be. We want you to be the green in this statistic. The green meaning 2 in 5 people typically get a job right out of college. And we want the green to represent Vector Marketing TLA. We want it so that you call me and say, Jeff, just like you said 3 years ago when I sat in your house, in your office, just like you said after I branched twice, just like you said a long time ago. Remember when I met you when I was 18? Long time ago. Here I am, and I did get this blank fill in the blank job. And I did get fill in the blank highest job offer, just like you said. And all those things that I said, yeah, Jeff, I know, they all happen in the interview. That's why we have Leadership Academy. We also have Leadership Academy. Sorry, please. There you go. Because the Wall Street Journal has still to this day said that this is one of the best college student jobs for someone to make money and get experience at the same time. Because you can find jobs that have experience, but you don't make money. And you can find jobs where you make a lot of money but don't get experience. Yeah. So Wall Street Journal time and time again talks about what our students are gaining, from eye contact to confidence to the ability to work with people. And it doesn't matter what major you are. You always need to sell something, right? We'll talk about that in a second. So that's another reason why Leadership Academy is a really big part of what we do. I don't sell Cutco knives anymore. So whenever I'm on a plane with a bunch of business people and they say, what do you do? I used to say, well, I sell Cutco. That's not true at all. I actually don't. I don't remember the last time I sold a knife. I buy them. I give them as gifts. But I don't sell any knives anymore. I manage all the operations for Cutco. But my job, this is what I sell. This is technically what I do. I'm in manager and leadership development and operations manager for Cutco across Florida and the Caribbean. We believe in Leadership Academy, and we have Leadership Academy because these are the skills, and I think this is what Nicole was mentioning. There are certain skills that you don't necessarily get a class on or training on, and even if you get a class, you might not get. Raise your hand if you've ever had a class where the class said whatever the subject was and you still didn't get the subject right from the class. There's no guarantee by taking a class you'll learn it. or that it's going to be a good professor, or that the information will be great for you. But one thing I do know is that regardless, people need to manage their time, learning how to work with others, positive self-talk and consistency. I think everyone uses that. That's something in Leadership Academy we really work hard to help you master. Also asking for help. That's the next one here. Asking for help, listening, and mastering your thoughts. The person who can best manage other people is the one who can best manage who?
So,
Yeah, that's always how it is. That's always how it is. And that's another part of why we have established Leadership Academy. You see, what we want to do is we want to be the premier college student company where everyone knows when you have kids and once they turn 17, you push them to Cutco for a couple summers and they become a better fill-in-the-blank student, fill-in-the-blank major. And that's our goal. And that's why we have Leadership Academy. Part of why we also have Leadership Academy, and I'll end with this before I give you details, is we really want you to help find a tool, find a curriculum, find people that help you be the best version of yourself. I would imagine, and don't say yes just to say yes, but most of you probably feel some bit or a ton of support from your manager or myself or a combination of the two. You genuinely have a trust in Luke and in Andrew and in Jeff in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Okay? You feel that they have, or we have, or I have your best interests in mind. And please don't take for granted that all work environments are like that. I think it's really important to point out my bride-to-be at some point, Heidi. You guys know she's a pediatrician, and she's a doctor. Well, she's a doctor. That's super professional. Everyone's always supportive in the medical field, but that's a professional job. I'm the boyfriend. I hear everything. It's not always positive. And if you could hear some of the ways doctors speak to each other, it is appalling's not the word. It is not a good word to represent the medical field. And I think I have a young lady in Hannah who I would love for her to talk to Heidi as the doctor, the way she would speak to her versus this 42-year-old attending physician who runs the hospital. Like lack of people skills. And that's just one field. I'm just using Heidi as one example. So don't take for granted that you have people here that want you to be the best version of you. It's really important. In fact, it's a personal thing of mine. This is my platform to serve and help you guys be better. And then you blame me later. It's a lot of fun. And we talk about the power of habits. For TLA, it's all about creating habits. Self-habits, business habits, money habits. In fact, you guys remember this from the meeting? If you save now at 18, just $3 a day, that's not even what, it's like 2 sodas. $3 a day from now until 65 years old, just $3 a day, at an average of 10% growth over those years. Okay? Not year to year, but overall, you'll have $1 million. Power of interest is so powerful. And here's what's interesting. You take that, and the average American has not 1 million, but that when they retire. So why is there such a big disparity? Well, think about this. They wait till 30. Okay, save the same $3 a day, starting at 30, not 18. Same interest rate. That number is only 316,000. And still, people only have 66. So what did they not do early? They didn't start investing, start saving, even just a little bit. They didn't know how to start now. And so that's just an example of one habit. That's money related. But what could happen to you? What is your $1 million from a fitness level? What habits now get you to $1 million in fitness? What habits now get you to $1 million in relationships, faith? I mean, I could go down the green row. Habits are the most important thing. Our lives change, and this is Matthew Kelly, a favorite author of mine. Our lives change when our habits change. You guys know that? Think about the positive habits you've created through SC2 push. Sometimes forced, right? Get on the phone. Get up early. Check in. Communicate high. Get on that darn WhatsApp. It keeps going off. Okay. But Jeff, slow down. I'm just going to my first year at UF. Relax. I'm going to Indiana, Kelly School of Business. Just give me I'm too young. And I hear that all the time. I'm just telling you, we're fighting that because you're not too young. You're not too young to be a better version of yourself. Because eventually you'll get to the point where you keep giving that excuse, and then what's the next excuse? I'm too old, Jeff. I can't get into shape. I can't work on my finances. You're either too young or you're too old, my friends. There's no middle point. And as we talked about Mr. Mozart here, my good friend, good personal friend of the family, he was 8 years old when he wrote his first, I believe, symphony, right? Anne Frank, her famous diary at 13. Ralph Waldo Emerson got into the illustrious elite Harvard University at 14 years old. Joan of Arc led the French Legionnaire into battle at 17 years old. And of course, moderately successful and overachieving Mr. Bill Gates. 19 years old when he started something called Microsoft. You're not too young, and I think that's the value of, Jeff, well, why would I want to do this through college? This is why. We believe you're not too young to work on this stuff. So what I want to do is I want to cover some details of Leadership Academy. I'm just going to skip through here. You guys remember this slide from the meeting? So I pulled up some elite schools that I think are elite, like MIT. No one will call you stupid for going to MIT, or Cornell, or Georgetown. And I just thought of some of the most ridiculous classes that people will pay thousands of dollars in tuition for, and their degree is based on some of these classes. Like my favorite one's philosophy and Star Trek. I would take that, by the way. But people will pay at Georgetown University. I don't know the dollar price per credit, but they'll pay money. And have you ever met someone that said, you spent money on tuition? That's just unbelievable, and how terrible that is with your money and for your money. Like, some people would argue. But most people don't say, oh, education. Oh, you sent your kid to school? My goodness. What are parents thinking? What are parents thinking nowadays? No, they get, well, you're investing in their education. But these are some of the classes that the parents will invest money in, or the students will take. And it's okay. But I just feel like some of the things we're going to be teaching you certainly can give you a lot of value, more than the class, which was 30 pictures. Right? So here are the 5 things we teach you how to manage that are not Cutco related. Although we will give you plenty of Cutco information, because that is the key. What talks in our company? CPO, right? So to perform is through CPO. But these are the 5 types of things you'll learn how to manage if and when you're accepted into TLA. We teach you money management, from the checkbook that Grant referenced, to investing, to Roth IRAs, to house purchasing, to credit score. Time management. We're going to give you a chance, not a chance, we're going to give you as part of the curriculum a requirement to buy something that is very foreign to many of you. It's called a planner. And ready? Next step, for many of you, we don't just let you buy it, we make you use it. And we ask you to show us that you use it so that you actually use it. And you become more organized. Okay, I'll stop sarcasm. Energy. We teach you energy management, from fitness to health to, in some cases, spiritual, right? And just self-management. And of course, my favorite is managing others, and of course, at the top, managing yourself. Those are the 5 main lessons of what you'll learn. So I want to talk to you about this before we wrap up with the details. This is the collegiate track. I certainly don't think this is what everyone has to do, but to get really the full M3PG experience, Cutco is not a one summer deal. Now, if you are here and you're only here for a summer or 2, that's cool. That's great. Let's make sure we have the best relationship and you get the most from it. But this is what we really believe to be, in some version of this, the best way to go through Cutco, through college. Now, summer one is selling, which is what all of you are doing, and earning a spot in Leadership Academy. The real M3PG experience is getting into Leadership Academy to get that type of educational leadership circle of influence. Summer 2, the ultimate M3PG experience is running a branch office where you learn to build a business from scratch. All the challenges, the ups and downs, the planning, the finances, the execution of what in the back Luke and many of you come from Andrew have done all summer. That's ideal track number 1. And then ideal track number 3 is you go through TLA a second or a third time, and you come back to do one of 2 things: either branch again, and this is Andrew's office. Last year, he built a business from scratch in Boca. This year, he is growing his business from 130,000 to now it's going to be 400,000, and learning how to build and becoming more marketable. And then beyond that, people can also sell full-time. I have a student right now who is finishing his branch opportunity, and his name is Anthony Blake, and he will either come back to branch again, or he's thinking about pursuing sales at a full-time basis because he likes the individual selling aspect. And also financially, it's a great gig. Okay. And then beyond, we have opportunities for people who either want to have a career with us, or like me, I just wanted something right out of college that I knew I was going to love, be a great financial stepping stone, an experience stepping stone to go into something later. Or sometimes we have people that don't know what they want to do and they don't want to waste time, but they know they like to be here for now. They choose district manager for at least 2 or 3 years after college. Or many of you know Andy Janti from our division, or Taylor Maxtercart from our division. They're pursuing a post-college selling Cutco full-time as a realtor rep, full-time home demos, fairs and shows, and they're essentially selling Cutco as a career. Okay, so I'm not sure which of these lines up for you. I'm not sure which track, but one of the things I just want to encourage you to do is sit with Luke at some point or sit with Andrew and figure out, okay, if my light bulb has gone off, and Cutco is definitely my college thing for now, and I can work it around other things. If Cutco is for me as my leverage through college, how do I get the most out of it? Figure out your track. It'd be really exciting to do, and it could be a lot of light bulbs for you. So next summer, here's some options, right? You could be selling full-time next summer as what we call a CSP candidate. A lot of TLA members will go through the training for 8 months and end up still selling. Andy Janti, by the way, ran a branch office. Taylor Maxter-Cart ran a branch office. Jordan Blyweiss all ran a branch office. Now they're selling full-time. Some people will become an assistant manager. Antoine, who you met, Antoine's from the Metro Miami office. Antoine went through Leadership Academy. He made it through, and when we made decisions in December and January, he wasn't quite at the cut to make it to branch, but he was guaranteed some type of leadership position because he went through the training program, so he was an assistant manager. Then, of course, there's branch manager, which is where an office is open for just the summer, and then district managers for year-round, okay? So let me clarify before I meet with you one-on-one. A branch manager is not a permanent manager with their company. It is a temporary summer gig, okay? April, May is when the office opens. August is when the office closes. The first 2 or 3 months is a lot of building the office and recruiting and interviews and training. The second half is SC2 push, and you'll notice a lot of the branches are selling personally now with their team. You'll see Luke picking up the kid a lot more the next couple of weeks, and it goes from building a business to now working with your team. And it's an awesome experience. And then you can ask anyone that branched. It challenges you, it brings out the best in you, and it's also very unique for your resume because it talks about having an entrepreneurial experience at the age of 18, 19, and 20 years old. Also, one thing I want to share, put my pen over here, is the difference between, you guys familiar with the term franchise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. What's a franchise? What does that mean?
A franchise is when people can buy like a certain store location, like McDonald's, where you own it. It's your own business, but you use their name.
Yeah, you put money down and you buy from, let's say, Smoothie King. That's one of the more profitable, most successful ones right now. You say, hey, Smoothie King, Mr. King. That was a joke. Hey, Mr. Smoothie King, here is a loan I got from the bank for $250,000. I think that's a startup. $250,000, and Smoothie King will give you all the programs because you bought them, and they're proven they're successful. That's why they're a franchise, and you own it. Okay, but you don't have to worry about the programs. Okay? It's already set, and the profit's yours. Then there's a startup. And what's a startup? What's the difference?
It's all on you.
Okay. Who's the money?
Yep. You.
Venture capitalist plus you. And other people. Okay. But what did they say?
Percentage.
We want a high percentage of that business. It's not completely yours. And if it's more than 50% ours, we can shut it down at any time. That's the difference. Okay. Here, the difference is we kind of combine the two, where we give all the programs. Okay. The company doesn't require initial startup more than $1,000 or $2,000, let's say, but the company also gives $9,000 plus and gives all the programs. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, where there's not the complete risk of being a startup, but there's also not the upfront costs of a franchise. And that's why we've been very unique in the ability to take a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, to run a profitable business in Boca Raton on a shoestring budget, right? If you ask any business owner in Boca Raton, Luke's, how much startup did you have? 4?
4.
If you told ask any business person, many of you know business people in Boca, go to Boca, say, Mr. Business Person, what kind of business could you start with $4,000 up here? They would laugh at you. They'd say, I could pay 1 month's rent. But what we're able to do is take the company Cutco budget, the small shoestring budget, put it together, and with the program that we know works, Luke's going to profit probably anywhere between, on the low end, 20, on the high end, 30 grand this summer as a 20-year-old college student, right, on a shoestring budget, because we combine franchise and startup. So that's essentially what a branch does. District manager, that's not really anyone in this room, but if for some reason you feel like school's not for you, or when you graduate, you're not sure what you want to do, and you at least still like it here in the meantime, or you're all out and want to be here forever. That wasn't me when I was a district. But we do have those available. And the process is pretty simple. If you're accepted into Leadership Academy, those acceptances happen at the following. It happens at SC3. Okay. So if you're not signed up for SC3, I highly encourage you to talk to your manager. So SC3 is where we give all the acceptances. Then I want to talk about the two types of training. And I think this is the question a lot of people have. So there's both a weekly and a monthly commitment. Okay. However, the entire process, the time is the equivalent, if you've been in college, to take an extra 1, maybe 2 credits. And for example, I took a 2-credit course my senior year called bowling. And another one called weightlifting. Okay. Would you guess it to be a time-consuming, hard, or relatively easy 2 credits? Yeah, and I got in shape. It was awesome. I could bowl. And it was great. That's the equivalent time-wise. Who's in college already? Who's had? Okay, so you can understand the concept of what 1 to 2 credits means. Okay. On a weekly basis, there's a 1 to 1.5 hour session done each week. It's either done at the office close. So we will have an office in Gainesville, an operation there. We'll have an operation at FSU in Tallahassee. Other offices, depending on where you go, will have an office. Or if there is no local office, then everything can be done virtually to my office. Once a week for about an hour, hour and a half. Number 2, on a weekly basis, I run about a 45-minute to an hour conference call for everyone in the FC once a week. And this is where we do both the Cutco lessons that I talked about and the life lessons, which are the time management, money management, energy management, self-management, others management. Okay. So that's about 2 hours a week, we would call it. On a monthly basis, we have what's called Divisional Leadership Academy Prep, or 1 Saturday a month. People will come here back to FC. We have people that will take a road trip together from Gainesville and Tallahassee. They also use it as an opportunity to come home, see mom and dad sometimes. Or if it's worked out ahead of time, they can participate in the division once a month closest to their school. Or if it's worked out ahead of time, they can also participate virtually here. And really, as long as it's all worked out ahead of time, we're super flexible. Luke, I think 1/3 of them he did virtually, and 2/3 he just came down anyway because he wanted to see mom and dad. Cool. So that's the time commitment. And then what happens is September, October, November, and December, no one has to worry, commit, or decide what position they're going to be for next summer. They're all just working hard to get ranked as high as possible. And when we get to December and January, the highest ranked people get the best opportunities and the best options to go branch or assistant. And the people who are the lower or middle tier ranking, they'll have the assistant manager positions or the part-time assistant position. So bottom line, even if you're gung-ho branch right now, that might change if you get into TLA and as you go through the process. That was Andrew. Andrew's first time through TLA. We found that it was better for him to be an assistant manager. Or you might end up like Daniela Stanganelli, who's the branch manager in Naples, where she went into TLA, got in, said, Jeff, that branch thing is a little bit too much for me. But by November, she realized how much better she was than most of the class. And she said, I can do this. And now it's just this young 18-year-old young lady is running all of Naples as a branch manager. So if you want to use a school analogy, just because you pick a certain major freshman year doesn't mean that's your major. Right? And by the time you get to senior year, things can change. And that's exactly how TLA works. Okay. So that's the time commitment. Any questions on time commitment? Yes, sir.
How do you get ranked? You said
that's in the first prep. Ranking has a combination of 5 things. When I give assignments after each monthly prep, so this is a full day with me where I cover all these lessons. We do role play, we do drill for skills, we always go out afterwards. I give assignments from prep to prep, and then I test in each prep. So testing, of course, CPO, how much money someone is able to save. It's actually funny because the competition here, it's cool to save a lot of money instead of spending. Like we brag and you actually get higher points here the more that you can show you're saving money. Okay. And then intangibles. Intangibles would be professionalism, things that aren't as easy to grade. How are the grades? Side note, a student's obligation, a student's requirement is that they're keeping up with grades too. So this isn't a do well with Cutco, we don't care about school. I need to see that someone can balance everything. That's really important too. Okay. Last few things. I want to just put my plug for selling in the fall. I know some of you will take a really almost non-existent selling role this fall. That's totally cool. But when you need money, just know that if you're at a higher percentage, it's really easy to make money for the times that you need it. Some of you might work part-time. Here's what's really cool. Part-time with us during the school year is as little as 5 in a week, maybe up to 10 at most. Okay, that's more part-time. Full-time, Anything over 10.
Demos.
Yeah, just for the whole week. Now, for those of you that just finished SC2 push, that's like what, in a day sometimes? Like you're pushing. How many of you have gone for 4 to 6 in a day? And you know that. We're talking about during the school year. It's a completely different animal. So let's just even take a part-time representative that does 5 appointments up to 10, right? That's probably what, 3 to 6 sales? Average order is 300. That's $900 to $1,800. I'm gonna round that up. That's 1 to 2K in sales. If you're dirty 30 or higher, you've made $300 to $600, and you only work 5 hours for the week. I just don't know what college student job you can pick your hours, work 5 hours, and make $300 to $600. So if not necessarily even for selling, for Cutco, not for TLA, not even for saving money, if you just need money, this is a sweet gig for a college student, right? We were joking about traveling and how hard it is, but sometimes the traveling isn't free. And my parents said, you can go, but you have to pay for it. I would just do 5 demos and do it. My friends are going to the beach. Well, we're not going to pay for that. Cool. I'll pay for it. Let me work 2 days. It was always awesome, right? So, and then sometimes we have push weeks where students will go a little bit more. So maybe they double the appointments. I mean, I don't know where a student can work full-time, and full-time is maybe what, 15 appointments, where they can make a comma paycheck in a week if they wanted to. This certainly is not for everyone, but just know that this is available, which is why it's worth it for you to work really hard through August. So before you go back to UF, FSU, Indiana, all these great schools, that you know that you can work part-time and make full-time. I think that's really important. And I'm not even talking about coming home for winter break. Winter break, hint, hint, there's a contest for another Port de Vallarta type thing. And everyone sells a lot, but their percentages are high. So I have students that will come back. Luke does it all the time. Will come back for winter break, work part-time, and make what their friends made all summer during part of winter break, and go on a trip to fill in the tropical, hot, exciting destination. So just food for thought. Okay, this is kind of separate, food for thought. And I think there's a value in having options. Here's what I'll say. If you get into TLA, just know getting to TLA is going to be of high value for you for all the things I covered. And know that you don't need to decide what you do next summer. Just getting through the program will give you lots of options for next summer, okay? And one thing I can say confidently is that every single person who gets through Leadership Academy, we always find them something, whether they're a CSP role, we find them a paid assistant role, or we find them a branch office if they're trained. And that's a saying that I say all the time is that people who are funded and people who are trained will have the best opportunities, okay? So I'll wrap up with the next step. Next step, number 1, I'm looking for overall commitment. I'm looking to see who finishes strong. I'm looking to see when you meet with Luke or Andrew, what you guys discussed as your plan, probably yesterday or 2 days ago, and did you follow through on your plan? Right. I'm not looking for people to cancel school, not go back to the first 2 weeks of school and sell all the way till September. In fact, I just think that's poor choice of management. I think you need to go to your classes and do what you have to do. But what I do believe in is people finishing all the way to the date they agreed to. I think that's really important. If you say, Jeff, I have a student right now who said, Jeff, I'm going back Monday before soccer camp, and I'm contracted, so I can't, and it pays for school. Okay. But Janine is committed to selling till Sunday before she goes. And when she goes, she's going to feel good knowing that she hit her goal. And my guess is she'll be in TLA. That's my guess. Okay. I also look for, I guess, my overall personal impression. So if you've got a chance to speak to me a lot or we've had interaction, that does bode well in your favor. Is this young lady or young man professional? Do I get good positive feedback, not just from myself, but from your manager, I guess local manager evaluation? And then last but not least, last 2 things is financial responsibility. We are looking for students who know how to save money, because if the company's going to give $9,000 plus without any question to a student who's a branch manager, what do they want to know first from that student? What do you think?
They're responsible.
Financially responsible.
They're responsible, yeah.
Yeah.
And so how we show that is through our management savings account. Many of you have already set up a withholdings account where money's been taken out during the push, and that's already a way, that's essentially the savings account. What it does is it allows Cutco, it allows me, it allows you to see money that's been saved on purpose. And the higher their account, the more we know someone can save. But what does it also mean? If someone's able to put a lot of money in, aside from maybe mommy and daddy, which sometimes is the case, mom and dad can help with that. But if someone has a growing amount of money, what does that also show?
Self-control.
Self-control, and that the student knows how to make money, AKA what?
Sells.
They know how to sell. I think that's really important. I have yet for a student to say, Jeff, I'm selling so much, I have no money to save. Like all my students that sell, like I remember Luke, at one point said, here's going into the fall, here's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 saved. Why? Because I'm selling a lot and I actually don't even pay attention to it right now. So let me just save it so it sits there and I don't spend it. That's a really good sign for Luke. Okay. So talk to your manager about starting a savings account. And I know some people are actually bringing checks to the to the interview. This is not a bribe Jeff, let me get in the TLA by sliding money kind of situation. But if people are starting their account, it does show what I call a commitment account. Now, last but not least, finishing all the way strong. Most of you set up some type of a bet or must, should, and could goal with your manager. I'd be curious to hear what it is in your interview if you did. But finishing all the way through. We have SC3. I know some of you have some conflicts. I'm just going to ask this or say this. Missing SC3 doesn't kick you out of TLA in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that being at that conference, number one, it's the finale to the summer. I think it's great to finish strong and celebrate with our FC crew. Number two, we do have some of our TLA lessons that we start to teach there. Number three, we do have our competition, which we're having. In fact, we're giving away 3 swords for the top 3 representatives, and we're giving away 10 Cutco prizes. 4, for some of you, your push up to SC3 is going to be the statement that gets you in or not into TLA. And then number 5, it's the actual ceremony where we, almost like a draft pick, where we say the next pick for the Florida Caribbean Leadership Academy is Luke Maseko from Boca Raton. And everyone cheers. And then we have a Leadership Academy night out, and we even start some of the lessons. So it's worth it to be there for that final one. In fact, I would personally talk to you and love to see you adjust schedule so you can make it. I know Luke going to UF, he had a conflict. He was going to his freshman year, and we worked it out where he didn't have to be there till the day after. And I encourage you, there's no obligation, but I just encourage you to be there because it's really the wrap up to the summer and you're going to get a lot of value. Also, how to sell at school and how to do a better virtual appointment. Okay? So here's some assignments. I'll have you write down 3 assignments for me, and then we're ready to roll. Okay. Number one right, is stay on Jeff's radar, which means communication through WhatsApp and text message. So if you're not on the WhatsApp group that says TLA candidates, ask to be put onto that group so that I can visually see what you're doing, what you're selling, and your activity. Also, don't be afraid to go directly to me one-on-one on regular text. Hey Jeff, this is Grant, back in the game. Here's what I sold coming back. I'm going to post it on the WhatsApp right now. Like that also will help you with the communication. Assignment number 2, do your best to figure out your plan for SC3. How many of you are already signed up for sure for SC3? Okay, so if you're not, talk to Luke and talk to Andrew and work out your plan and let me know your plan for SC3. Okay. And number 3, finish strong with sales. Sell, 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 sell. Do what you have to do to get that rolling. Okay, so I'll stop there. Any questions? What may I ask? What was clarified today that wasn't as clear coming into the interview? That might help me out a little bit. Yes.
The breakdown, like the specific breakdown of what TLA actually is.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear too. This should not impede with classes or your social life or your extracurricular activities. It should be another extracurricular activity. That's how you should view it. Other things that were clarified? Okay. So we're going to put everyone in the main room again. I just asked that, and you guys already know the order. I'll read the order again. If you're on deck, like the next person, stay in the room. Otherwise, you're free to go to the cafe, grab something to eat. If you have some phone time to do, we should be ready to roll. Any questions? All right. Much luck, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.